Okay, just picture this for a second. You're floating, up there, in the quiet of low Earth orbit. Down below, the world is just spinning in silence. And then you see it, something new, a piece of the future, slowly, carefully drifting into place. You know, we're gonna dive into something today that feels like it's been ripped right out of a sci-fi novel, but it's not. It's becoming a very real, multi-billion-dollar reality. We're talking about orbital compute, and let me tell you, it holds incredible promise, but also incredible peril.
So what you're saying, that's a new compute module. I mean, think about it. A 100-ton data center, just floating there. It's packed with the most powerful chips you can even imagine, and it's just gleaming like a knife's edge in that raw, unfiltered sunlight. This is so much more than just a server rack, you know? It's like a massive, self-contained arc of pure processing power, built specifically for this hostile environment. It just got released from a starship, and now it's making its final, careful approach to its new home, the Starcloud-5 station.
So the location, that's the real genius here. These orbital data centers, they're placed in what's called a terminator orbit. What does that mean? Well, they're basically flying right on the line that separates day and night on Earth, the dawn/dusk line. And the reason for this is just, it's pure elegant physics. From up there, the sun never sets, it's always sunrise. This means you get constant 24/7 solar power. We're talking over 95% uptime. That is a level of energy efficiency that you literally cannot get from any solar farm on the ground. It's impossible.
Right, so all that power, it generates a ton of heat, an incredible amount. Here on Earth, we need millions of liters of water to keep data centers from melting down. But in space, you've got the ultimate cheat code, the almost absolute zero cold of the void. So what do? They use a system called two-phase immersion cooling. Basically, the processors are dunked in this special fluid. The fluid boils, pulling the heat away, and then massive radiators just vent that heat straight out into the infinite cold of deep space. How cool is that? I mean, it is just an incredibly elegant solution.
Okay, so let's recap. A floating supercomputer. It's powered by an eternal sunrise and cooled by the vacuum of space. Yeah, it sounds like something straight out of Hollywood, right? A movie plot. But this is where things get really interesting. This is where our story takes a really sharp turn. Because the scenario I just laid out for you, it isn't fantasy, not at all. It's a projection. It's built entirely on real technical proposals and, more importantly, real investments that are happening as we speak.
And believe me, this isn't some small niche experiment we're talking about. No way. This is a full-blown space race between the absolute biggest names in tech. You've got Elon Musk, who's already announced SpaceX's plans, Google has Project Suncatcher, and they're aiming for a 2027 launch. There's an NVIDIA-backed startup, Starcloud, that has already launched its first test satellite. You've got giants like Jeff Bezos and Eric Schmidt throwing their massive resources into this. They want to win this race. The money is real, the ambition is off the charts, and the tech is moving at a pace that's just incredible.
So this all brings us to the big question, right? The fundamental question. Why? Why go through all this trouble, all this insane expense? Why would we launch our most critical infrastructure into literally one of the most hostile environments we can imagine? Well, the answer isn't about the glamour of going to space. It's about a massive crisis that's brewing right here, back on Earth.
And this number is the reason. 945 terawatt hours. Just let that sink in for a second. That's the projected annual electricity consumption for the world's data centers by 2030. It's just a mind-boggling amount of energy. And you know what's driving it? Our insatiable demand for artificial intelligence. AI it's literally eating the world's power grid for breakfast.
I mean, the scale of this problem is just staggering. Look at this. In 2025, data centers are on track to use as much electricity as the entire country of Japan. And by 2030, that number is expected to more than double. Our planet's power grids, they just weren't built to handle this kind of load. You can already see it happening. In places like Virginia, which is a huge hub for data centers, the grid is already buckling under the strain. We are physically hitting a wall.
And so, space starts to look like this perfect solution. It's almost like a mathematical proof. Think about it. First, you get unlimited solar power. You're harvesting up to 8 times more energy than the best solar farms on Earth. Second, you get perfect passive cooling. You don't need a single drop of water. And third, you basically solve this huge environmental and resource problem back on Earth. So of course, it's being presented as this clean, elegant answer to a very, very messy problem. But
You knew there was a but, right? Space is never simple, and it is certainly not cheap. The first enemy you face up there is totally invisible: radiation. See, down here, Earth's magnetic field protects us, but in orbit, cosmic rays will just fry a standard computer chip in a matter of days. To survive, you need special radiation-hardened chips, and the cost difference? It's just astronomical. A normal GPU, maybe a few $100. The space-ready version? $200,000 for one.
And the problems just keep piling up. The launch costs are insane. We're talking about $1 million just to get one server rack into orbit. Then you have the speed of light itself creating a delay, a latency problem. That makes these data centers pretty useless for things that need instant responses, like high-frequency stock trading. And don't even get me started on the huge political questions, like who owns data that's not in any country. But lurking behind all of that is the biggest, scariest threat of all: space debris. Millions of tiny little fragments, all orbiting at insane speeds, creating this lethal, invisible minefield.
So, let's go back to Starcloud-5. The new module is docked, all the systems are green, everything's perfect. The future of AI is literally being trained in its circuits. And then, an alarm. A blaring alarm shatters the comm, a station-wide emergency, the kind you pray you never, ever hear.
And the threat? It's not a meteor. It's something we made. It's man-made. The Space Surveillance Network, which, by the way, is a very real thing that tracks junk in orbit, sends the alert. A debris cluster from something called the Fengyan 1C is on a direct collision course. Now, this is debris from a real event that happened back in 2007. China tested an anti-satellite weapon, and it created over 3,000 pieces of trackable space junk. A single decision, made years ago, is now about to threaten the entire future. And it is heading right for them.
The diagnosis that comes back is just terrifying. A Kessler cascade is imminent. This is the famous Kessler syndrome. It's this theoretical tipping point where there's so much junk in orbit that one collision starts a chain reaction. See, each crash just creates more debris, and that debris causes more crashes, and on and on. And with an ETA of just 12 minutes, the station, which is 4 square kilometers, is just a sitting duck. It's way too big to move in time. There's nothing they can do.
So the engineer just braces for impact, trying to save whatever data they can. And then, a final status update flashes on the console. The training run for GPT-7, the next giant leap in artificial general intelligence, is 94% complete. The irony, it's just brutal. Humanity pushed its greatest hope for the future into orbit to save it from our problems on Earth, only to have it destroyed by the garbage we left floating up there decades ago.
And then, the impacts began. What started as a little glitter of metal fragments turns into a full-blown storm. The solar arrays just shear off. The whole station starts to break apart. You know, in the cold, hard math of space, there's one lesson that gets learned again and again, the hard way. Debris always wins.
So in our story, this Starcloud-5 disaster creates over 40,000 new pieces of junk. The chain reaction, the cascade, knocks out 60% of our communication satellites. Think about that. GPS, internet, everything. Low Earth orbit, the superhighway for our modern world, it becomes a total no-go zone, unusable for at least 50 years. The very same infrastructure we built to connect our world has now ended up isolating it and endangering it.
So, where does that leave us? We're left with this huge dilemma. Orbital compute offers this brilliant, elegant solution to a massive crisis on our planet. You get unlimited sun, infinite cooling, all the room you could ever need to grow. But it also comes with these catastrophic, world-ending risks. And so this whole story, it really forces us to ask a really tough question, one that applies to so much of our technology today. Our greatest innovations almost always carry the greatest risks. So how do you decide which futures are actually worth that price?